What up, what up? This is Bar Judah, and this is Shed Some Light, where I give insight on things that ain't right, at least in my opinion. Let me have an hour of your time. Mondays and Thursdays, 3 p.m. Pacific, 6 p.m. Eastern. Thank you for giving me a like, and don't forget to sub. Much love. Let's get into it. People, it's your boy doing out a little test run. I figure I might do it on the Kanye West campaign rally. Hopefully I'll be able to shed a little bit of light on what this young man is trying to say. I say young man because he's not that much older than me, and I would like to consider myself a young man. But anyway, let's go on ahead and get right into it.
All right, I wouldn't need a mic here. Is that true? What is the number one thing that you guys want to change? Because I want to start with Frank. Until she says, I am done with my point.
My name is Summer Isley. I'd like to say that the issue with education is that it is whitewashed, not only whitewashed, it is brushed over by whoever is the victor. So people that are marginalized in any community, not just necessarily people of color.
I know that we are trained to mostly react to the point that they're saying, I agree. I feel that. But today
So basically the young lady was saying that she believes that our history has been whitewashed. And for the most part, I can agree with that because I believe, as the old saying goes, the winner writes history or something like that, or something to that nature. So as we all know, the Americas were conquered, if you wanted to say that, by Europeans. So when they did bring over slaves or any people of minority, they didn't teach them to write. They didn't teach them anything about the language. It was up to whoever that slave was to bring it upon themselves to try to understand what was being said to them. Try to learn how to read. So, long story short, most of the black people and other slaves did not know how to read or write. So they could not tell their story or write down their story of exactly what was happening to them during that time. Some people did. Some people did learn how to write, but for the vast majority, they didn't. So, of course, the majority is the one who is going to be able to keep the records and be able to write the records as they want them to be read. Let's get back into it.
I want you guys to try, not to try to spell it. What I want you guys to do is show how we can have complete silence until she expresses her point completely. And when she's done, it says,
He goes on to do this for a little bit just to try to get control of the crowd. So far, what I can kind of get to me kind of seems a little egotistical, but that's par for the course for Mr. West. So I'm going to skip it up a little bit until the young lady starts talking again.
Education, I was saying, is people are marginalized. They're not teaching all of history. They're only teaching it from one perspective, which is the victor's perspective. That's not always the right perspective. And I feel like if we're able to include other people into the perspective and into the conversation,
can agree with that. If, like she just said, history is written by the victor, I believe she just repeated the same thing that I said. Hey, but there you go. But anyways, if it were allowed to be more honest in the writings of our history, it would show more equality among us humans, not races, us humans. But that's not what happens. So let's get back into it.
There's just so much wrong with education. Some people don't know so many things, not only just in high school, in college, in the jail system, everywhere. So many people don't know after you come out of jail, you still have the right to vote. A lot of people don't know that. There's so much wrong with the education that we just need to speak up with.
I don't know if that was somebody screaming in the background. Y'all heard that?
Summer's going to speak on police brutality also. She has another expression she needs to make.
You want to take it, guys?
Wait a second. It doesn't have to be okay with you guys because I stated that she was going to do that. We only have made moves that we are generally okay with, not understanding that Instagram has been controlling the opinions of what we are okay with.
That's true.
So, me as the leader of the free world, inside of the very first rally, I made a decision that Summer is going to express her opinions, feelings, and information on police brutality. Silence, please.
Okay, so my feelings on police brutality is not everyone should be allowed to use the police force, first of all. So many people are in the police force that shouldn't be in the police force. They just want to have authority and action and power. Not only that, with what he was saying about brainwashing, he's completely, obviously he's right. He's Kanye West. He's completely right with social media brainwashing people. Stuff like TikTok. TikTok is brainwashing these little kids. People are on here 3 years old watching TikTok.
Pause. There's enough. If you guys want to whisper, go outside and talk. We need absolute silence. We need absolute order. That is the only way for this country to be back in order, is for us to have absolute order.
So on this right here, some people are trying to get it misconstrued as he is trying to say that there is going to be a new world order. Just because he said new, the word world and the world and the word order, people are trying to put it together as he's campaigning for the Illuminati and this, that, and third. But if we get back into listening to what he's saying, he's pretty intelligent in what he talks about. He says it in a very aggressive and a very, it kind of sounds crazy how he's coming across. But if you really listen to him, he's saying some good stuff.
Respect, dignity, and honor for those that we showed up to hear and that are speaking. Summer is talking right now. If you see someone next to you that nudges you or tries to whisper, hold your hand and say, this person is distracting me from what Summer is saying right now, and we will have to escort it out.
So you remember being in kindergarten, grade school, whatever and whatnot, when you had a question, you had to raise your hand. If you needed to say something to the teacher while she was grading the paper, or you were sitting down at your desk, you still needed to raise your hand. You couldn't just blurt out something when you needed to speak, right? You remember that? As we grow older, we kind of grow away from that. We just think that, well, I'm older now. I don't need to be considerate of the other person. It's all about me. That's kind of where we've been at in this America that we live in. It's very selfish. People are very selfish. So what he's trying to do here, from what I can see, is just to have people to remind people to be considerate. We've been taught this from very young ages, and sometimes we need to go backwards to what you used to know, so you can go forward to stuff you don't know. So let's go back into it.
Now, Summer, go ahead.
So back on the topic of brainwashing, just everything brainwashes now. Social media, if they want something, they can program it into our minds. TV, social media, literally everything. And the state of the nation is just, it's in complete dismay. There's one half that feels like everything is okay. There's one half that feels like everything is in tatters. And I wish everyone could just come.
That is also true. There is a considerable amount of people that believe that racism doesn't exist, or believe that inequality doesn't exist. They believe that it's just a lack of motivation for the most part on the minority. They don't understand that if you have a name like Bonquiqui or something like that for you on your application, it is more likely that your application is going to meet File 13 more than you are going to get your interview. And let's say if you did get on the interview, and let's say you have a more common name and you get to an interview, but it so happens that you are a person of color, the chances of you getting a second interview drop dramatically. So yeah, oppression is alive and well, and I'm glad that this young lady is speaking on it. Shedding some light on, yes, there are some people who just are naive. They don't want to believe what is reality. And on the same hand, there are some people who do try to use it as an excuse for a lack of motivation, to be fair. But on the just because that is true, does it negate the fact that racism is still also true?
Together, respect everyone's opinions. You don't have to agree with them, but you can always respect their opinion. And that's just how I feel. I expressed what I need to say.
Raise your hand silently if you have another issue that you'd like to bring up. I saw your hand too. This is Lauren McLeod. I understand everyone is exciting. It's a new world. You have someone who's not afraid of anyone and only afraid of God, and in honor of God. You have someone who isn't afraid of anyone and in honor of God, and it is a 132 IQ genius that literally went to the hospital because his brain was too big for his skull, and literally absolutely no clapping.
I believe that this is a little bit of pandering here. Who am I to say what is in Kanye West's heart? God is the only one who could say that. God is the only one who is going to be able to say where he is going to go for his eternity. We all know that Kanye West did try to do the whole gospel thing, and he had a church, and he did say that he's given his life over to the Lord. So if that's what he said, then that's what I have to believe until he shows otherwise. I don't see this as anything against Christianity. Now, I ain't gonna say he no saint, but no Christian is perfect. You're gonna find, and I think he's already used some type of foul language already, but that is not a disqualifier. That just means he's just a baby when it comes to Christianity, and he still has some growing left to do. And, I'll be praying for the brother that he just, continues to grow in his path. But as of right now, when he brings up God, I just think that he's trying to find constituents.
That went to Adidas when it was a $15 million organization losing $2 billion and ended up at $62 billion before COVID that went to the stock market with Gap and whose net worth went from $3.3 billion to $5 billion in 45 minutes. Now, that is Friends. I only have one superhero friend right now. Who is that? Okay, so we have one member of the superhero Avenger team so far. So I know that this is an exciting moment, but we're not excited because if I told you I bought you a brand new Mercedes-Benz and it's outside, you'd run to the car. But if I was in society today, I wouldn't have the car directly outside. I'd have it on the other side of the street. So you get hit by the car trying to run to your new car. And that's what social media fights. That's what social media does. It gets you excited about things. It gets you turned up about things. It gets you running around and I'm just walking. I don't know where these bricks come from, but I'm gonna use them. Wait a second, where did the bricks come from though? Did you put the bricks in the street? Did you put the bricks in the street? No, I'm not talking about the riots, I'm talking about the bricks in the 80s. Talk to him, young. You ready? Now, we have no microphone.
Okay, so education starts everything. Education starts with people who are our police force, who are in our healthcare force, who are our political force. So if we're not educated properly, how can we live in America if we don't even have the education to live in America? I grew up in Charleston. I grew up right here, surrounded by white people. There's nothing wrong with white people, but you live with a whole different perspective than everybody else. I live with a whole different perspective than everybody else. I think we need to change everything if we can begin to change what has been done to people in our society. And I think healthcare is so important because if you don't have access to healthcare, how can you even live your life? How can you live your life if you don't feel comfortable going to the doctor? If you don't feel comfortable going to vote, if you're not able to go to vote?
Okay, so I stubbed my toe 2 years ago. And went to the doctor because I gotta yay everything up. I gotta take everything way serious. Like, I'm not just gonna take some anointment or whatever. I'm gonna go to the hospital. So when I got there, 5 doctors asked me if I wanted pain medication.
So he's just talking about the opioid problems that are here and that exist pretty much everywhere. But doctors are pretty much pushers for narcotics, legal narcotics. If you have an ailment or you back surgery, knee surgery, sometimes even for cramps, for something as simple as cramps, doctors will prescribe morphine. They'll prescribe morphine for women's menstrual cramps. Now, I don't know if that's common practice, but I know people who have had that prescribed to them for that particular situation. And that ain't something normal. Normally you get like what's it called? Motrin. But I guess this doctor was loose with his pen, and that's what he was doing for his people. But at the end of the day, they do get some type of compensation. I don't know if it would be considered commission off of how much they prescribe to their patients. But they do get a kickback from these big pharmaceutical companies. It'd be something worth looking into if that is what you want, something to fact check. But I know it to be true.
At the end of the year, they give out awards for people who have given out the most medication. In Europe, there's a higher threshold for pain. I got plastic surgery to try to look young and try to look like I needed to be on TV out in Los Angeles. You heard a small clip of that on TMZ. After getting the plastic surgery, that was a slippery slope to being addicted to Percocets. Percocets release serotonins and endorphins in your mind that are similar to when you have an orgasm and are also a cousin and a sister of heroin. So basically, some could say I was addicted to a smaller form of heroin. And I would live in this McMansion, in this gated community, with my Maybach, and I would drive to Calabasas, high as a motherfucker. That's the one that my dad is sitting at home waiting for Fox News to run that. To say, he said he was high as a mother. No. Because I went through a process of one thing leading to the next thing, leading to the next thing, leading to the next. No, it ain't the next thing, it's the same thing. It's a cycle. It's the same thing. We are trapped in a loop.
That is one thing that some people, those who aren't familiar with addiction, believe or have a hard time believing or having a hard time understanding that addiction, it can be something that can be overcome, but you're always going to have those triggers. You're always going to have those little thoughts in your mind that are going to say, well, you know, you could just do this one more time. But because you have learned all of your 12 steps, you go to meetings, you have a support system, you have a sponsor, or you just have a real strong relationship with your Heavenly Father, and He has he puts things in your way to make it really hard for you to be able to obtain whatever particular substance was, you know, whatever floated your boat. God is good that way. It's hard. It's hard to get sober and stay sober if you don't have that type of support net. So it is like a revolving door. You might stay clean for a day. You might stay clean for 30 days. But then something might happen to you that is a trigger for you, and then here you go, we're right back at it again. I pray for those out there. There are many things, many sober livings, places that you can go for rehabs that are 30-day programs, that are 60-day programs, that are 6 months programs. I highly recommend those for anybody who may be suffering with addiction. But also remember that God is good and He can deliver you from anything that you are suffering from, however that may manifest in your life, be it going through a rehab or whatever it may be.
We are going to break that trap. Un momento. Wait a second. You come here for the next statement. Did you say, can I? Who's the person that can I ask? You said, can I add something? Okay. You stand up here. I would like for her to finish. What she said. I'm going to let you finish.
So what the young lady is saying, that the inequality or profiling of individuals, the crimes for one set of people are not prosecuted the same way for another set of people. For instance, she's getting an instance of a black person gets in a fight at school, he's suspended or maybe even expelled from school for being involved in the fight, where if a Caucasian individual was involved in a fight at the school, then he might get a detention, but still be able to return back to the school. Or if a individual is black who is caught selling drugs, he might get a harsher sentence than another person who is a Caucasian persuasion get a lesser sentence for the same amount of weight. This has been going on forever. I don't know if you guys remember about the war on drugs. I'm pretty sure everybody does, with Ronald Reagan and his wife. There is another YouTuber that has a video out about, I think it's called militarization of the police or something like that. But he talked about that in that video, saying I lost my train of thought. Well, he was talking about in that video about if, well, yeah, dang. It'll come back to me. Yeah, it'll come back to me.
White people, black people, every single person in the United States of America can acknowledge that.
Oh, here we go. Yeah, I had a brain fart. I had a conniption, a Freudian slip. All right, so the Ronald Reagan and his wife, the war on drugs. Back in that time, if you were caught with a gram of cocaine, you would get a sentence of I think it was 10 years in jail. But if you were caught, if you were caught with a gram of cocaine, the powder form of cocaine, you would get sentenced to, I think it was like 5 years. But if you got caught with the same amount of gram of crack, it was 10 years. So the sentencing was doubled for the crack over the cocaine. It's the same compound, it's the same chemical makeup. It's the only thing different in it is the way that is ingested, the way that the drug gets into the body. That's the only thing that's different. Powder cocaine is the same as crack cocaine. But what's the significance of that? Okay, so the primary customer for powder cocaine is a Caucasian person. The primary customer for crack cocaine is a minority. So there you even have it there. They're even getting some type of leniency just because they're getting high differently. Yeah, think about that one.
There is a difference between the way that we're raised and the way we experience the world. And I think that change, even with our celebrities, we have celebrities. We also have so many other celebrities who don't represent so many people in the United States. It's not fair.
I understand that was a very, very hurtful moment that you guys had to experience for 4 years when I wore the Trump hat for 4 years. I want to explain to you that Democrats ain't did shit for blacks. And the most racist thing that's ever been said out loud is the idea that if Kanye West runs for president, I'm gonna split the black votes. This reminded me, what was Samuel L. Jackson's character in Django? Stephen. Oh, right. I'm not trying to quiet your voices, actually, so I don't want to say that in an improper way. I just haven't had the time to word it in the most elegant way possible. So that's...
All right, what I'm going to do is go ahead and end it there. I thank you guys, and I appreciate you for tuning in with me for this first episode of Shed Some Light. I hope that there was some shed. If there wasn't, maybe I'll do better next time. If I did, leave a comment and a like. Hopefully you'll share. You guys be blessed, and until next time, peace.